Hello, MotoAmerica fans. It's time for another episode of Off Track with Carruthers and Bice. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and you may even learn something from this unlikely pair and their special guest. The mic is yours, Paul and Sean.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this latest edition of Off Track with Carruthers and Bice. It's a special video edition, and I don't know what just happened there. I wasn't looking, but I'm sure it wasn't a good look for me. But anyway, we got Carruthers on the other side of the table here, and you recognize the guy in the middle. This is Josh Herrin, 2013 Superbike champion, and Super Stock
16.
16, okay.
Dang.
Yeah, no, I know.
Remember this?
It should flow right out of me.
Mr. Years, too.
Yeah, it should flow.
Did you do a reboot this morning?
No, here's the thing. This is the interesting thing about this. Normally, we do a little bit of prep work on this thing, but Paul and I talked about it, and we said, we know this guy so well and have known him almost all his life, so we felt like, yeah, we're pretty cocky. We don't need to learn too much about his details.
Apparently, we're not that good.
Yeah, and then I can't remember the years, but it's funny. I don't know whether it was at Coda or wherever, but one of the things I always think of Josh, he used to have a nickname. It was Lil Bit, and I think you had it on your leathers.
Yeah.
And I still call him that sometimes. And I'm like, is this I don't know if it's offensive for him or not. But we talked about it. And he said it's okay. I think it's okay that maybe
the only reason it might not be is because like people in the South, they say a little bit means like little bitch. Like here at school, they say what up, bit. Like I don't know how cool it is here, but
maybe I better keep that one to myself then. But I always think of it because Josh has been in the paddock for so long and started out racing at a pretty young age and got involved with Chuck Graves back a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the guys that you raced with then
I'm an old guy now.
Yeah, that's right.
Does 2013 seem like a long time ago to you?
No.
It doesn't?
No. It seems like it was like yesterday.
I can't even remember it.
Somebody said the other day I'm the only rider in Superbike now with a Superbike title.
You are.
And I have the most wins.
You
I was
do.
like, wow.
Yeah, most wins.
8.
That's bad. Well, the stat I saw was overall, so I have 36 wins overall.
Yeah, but I'm only thinking not Superbike.
But those are real classes,
too. 4 and 4.
Yeah, it is overall wins. In fact, we threw you off one time. Remember that press conference where I said he had gotten to a certain level of number of overall wins, and you confused it with Superbike wins or something. And he was like, "Oh wow, I didn't know I had the most Superbike wins in history or something."
Yeah,
I definitely knew I didn't.
Okay, so
I screwed it up.
Okay, you have 8 wins right now.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of this year, to be Superbike champion, how many wins do you think you'd have to have?
I mean, Ben Bostrom won a championship one year. He didn't win one race, right?
He won one.
Did he win one race?
I don't think he won.
No, he won one, not in his
0.
championship year. He won
Yeah.
Dave Swartz is over there telling me 0.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Thomas Stevens won
one.
I think I've always tried to be, in my mind, I've obviously messed up a lot, but I've always tried to be as consistent as I can. And if I've obviously made mistakes, but a lot of times before the adrenaline kicks in, I'm thinking, okay, second's better than nothing, which a lot of times fail to finish the race, so you can't look at it like that.
So the adrenaline kicks in and that goes out the window and then you crash?
Yeah. But I think this year you need to win at least 6-7 races to win. Obviously if other guys mess up, guys crash or bikes break. But I'd like to at least win 7 races. I mean, that's my goal going into it. If I win, obviously be way happier if I win more, but I want to win at least 7 races.
I mean, from our standpoint, there's not going to be a Cameron Beaubier this year with 13, 14 wins, 16 wins, I guess he had by the end. Do you see that anybody could do that? Well, you said 8, but seriously, there's nobody here that's going to go win 16 races.
I don't know. I mean, it just depends on how good somebody feels with their bike. Like at the Coda test, the last couple laps that I did, 2 laps a day, I felt just like I did on my 18 bike, which I didn't go win 13 races or whatever like Cam did, but I felt so comfortable on the bike and so confident that anything is possible, I think, when I feel that confident. There's been times like Richard and I talked before in 16 when I won the Stock 1000 championship. The first few times I rode that bike, I told him there's no way we're not going to win a race this year. Like I just, at the end of testing, like before the first race of the year, and then we ended up winning 8 in a row, which was crazy to me when I look back on it, because Stock 1000 back then was Claudio Corti, Bobby Fong, Skoltz. Like, it was a really stacked class. And to win 8, not even just to win 8 races, but to win 8 in a row was like, which is a huge thing for me. So you never know. For me, it's all based on confidence. If I'm riding a wave, then it makes it a lot easier because you go into the race thinking like, I got this handled, and your mental strength is better than anything, I think, whenever you're riding on a good wave. So anything's possible, but with Baz and Fong and Skoltz and Gagne and Peterson, there's a lot of, it's really stacked. And I think most of the year you're going to see at least 4 guys battling for the lead on the last lap. So it's really going to be a lot about luck, a lot about how your strength and endurance is, and mentally how you are, for sure.
I feel like it's going to be the guy who makes the fewest mistakes.
Yeah, because
I think everybody that you just mentioned is perfectly capable of making mistakes because they have in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to be that the guy that minimizes those. And
yeah, and I think this year, I'm just speaking they're speaking it how it is, but I think that Baz is going to kind of elevate us to another level like Elias did in the past. Maybe not with just raw speed, but with, quickness straight away in sessions, stuff like that. I think, Tony came in what year?
16,
and then he won the championship 17. Yep.
And immediately just elevated everybody's game as far as aggressiveness, how quickly they're getting up to speed in practice, stuff like that. So I think Baz will do that again. Like I said, I don't think there's just going to be lap records being broke every weekend because Cam had super strong pace last year, and I still have 2 lap records at Laguna and Coda, just saying.
Mm-hmm. Just saying.
But I think as far as the raw speed out of the sessions, there's going to be a lot of guys that are mentally screwed because they're going to be seeing how quick he's getting up to pace, and they're 2 seconds off in the first session, halfway through, and they're like, oh crap, I got to get up to pace. And mentally that'll break somebody just by being down in practice. You see so many guys that all they care about is leading practice, where I've always sucked at leading practice, so I don't really care. I'm just a racer. But a lot of guys, that mentally breaks them, and that's something that'll be really tough this year and might separate the field, midway through the year or something, I think.
And you also suck at testing. I mean, you told me that.
Yeah,
because you don't like it, right?
I try, and the only year I was really good at it was with Richard in 18. And I was surprised that I hadn't been doing that good in testing this year. But then once we found whatever worked at the Coda test, the last 2 laps, I found it again. I was like, okay, wow. I did the lap by myself. I did it on a used tire. I did it under pressure. And it's a long track, which Coda would be the hardest track out of any on the schedule to go fast at unless we're at Road America, because it's just so long that, that half second turns into a second and a half on a track like Road Atlanta. So for me to feel that confident there testing, I was pumped and really looking forward to starting the year.
All right, now don't take this the wrong way, but you're not known as the hardest worker in the paddock, off season. And this off season, there's obviously been a change in that.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. You've told us before that you haven't necessarily lost weight, but you're in better shape and you've got more muscle mass and et cetera, et cetera. Tell us a little bit about what you've been doing and why you've made that change.
Well, it doesn't look good when you're sponsored by a company like Fresh and Lean and you're the fattest guy on the grid. So
yeah, they don't want to change it to fresh and fat.
nothing, maybe still fresh, but not very lean.
So that was one of the things going through my mind, but also, this is the best opportunity I've ever been given. I know how good it was to work with Richard. I know how well I rode on the Yamaha, and I just wanted to take advantage of it. I don't know how long this opportunity is going to last, but I want to make sure that I'm doing the best that I possibly can. If it's not there anymore, at least I lose it saying I was trying the hardest and I did everything I could. So, I just one day kind of woke up and realized that I was fat, compared to racers. I wasn't overweight compared to people that I know that are my age, but I wasn't an athlete. I didn't look in the mirror in the morning, which I do every day. There's 5 mirrors in our bedroom, so I always see myself. I'm like, wow. But one day I was like, man, I don't look like I should be racing a superbike, and I could still go finish races and do fine, but I wanted to be somebody that went into the gym and they were like, yeah, he's an athlete. That guy looks like an athlete. And there was guys like, Freddie Freeman, Mike Williams, they're baseball players, football players coming into the gym. And I saw how hard they were working and how it was a job to them. And they went from the gym to eating to physical therapy. It was just a nonstop kind of thing. And I think I've never had that, kind of motivation around me. I've never seen how that stuff really works as far as a real, baseball players or football players and stuff. So it took me to the next level. Started working out with Joe Cancerelli out at the W training facility. Fresh and Lean's paying for me to go to the gym there, and I just stepped it up big time, and been pretty much every single day in the gym for the past 4 or 5 months, and feel really good about myself. I'm confident, just off the track and on the track, I think, and I'm just pumped on it. Not looking for anybody to tell me, hey, good job or anything. I feel good about myself for the first time in a long time, and yeah.
I'm going to let Sean ask you why you have 4 mirrors in your bedroom.
Well, that did occur to me, and I wondered if one was on the ceiling or not. But well, I do want to talk about your style, not that style, your mirror style, but your riding style, Josh. I mean, I don't want to call you an elder statesman, but you've been in the series for a long time, and you started at a young age. All rider styles evolve over time. How has your riding style evolved? Because you still, to me, are kind of all over the bike, and you really move around a lot. And I used to call you a spider monkey, And do you feel like your racecraft has changed? And you mentioned something about when Tony came in and what Baz might do, and you look at what, how you need to step up and maybe change your style.
From a young age, from literally like the time I was 16, I looked at guys like Spees and Hopkins, how they were riding. And through the years, you watch GP, but I've always kind of gone off of Spees and Hopkins. I feel like I'm like a mix of those two guys because I grew up watching them and paying a lot of attention to them. And, for some reason to the rights, I ride totally different than I do to the left. So that's been something I've been trying to work on because years past, it didn't bother me too much, but I've kind of started to think like, okay, well, if I ride this way to the left and I ride this way to the right, it's kind of like being bipolar on the bike, and the setup in my mind might be different from one way to the other. So maybe the reason why I'm uncomfortable in right-hand corners is because my riding style is so much different. So I've been trying to kind of get off the bike a little bit more to the right. But it hasn't really evolved, from the time I was 17 to now, I don't think. I think I might be a little bit more aggressive now. But I like riding the bike like that. I think when I'm comfortable, you see me really off the bike and aggressive. When I'm not comfortable is when I'm kind of like just up a little bit. Mm-hmm. I've had, people try to change the way that I ride, and I've tried it, and I've given it, I've given it 100% trying to. I've rode the Ovales or R3s and tried to like change my riding style, or the R1 track day bike that I have, and just tried to be different. And I see the areas that it does help. But to me, I'm not naturally doing it. It's not like just naturally happening. So that means that in the race, I'm thinking about that too much and
mm-hmm.
not thinking about what I need to be doing. So I've kind of like, there's some pluses, but I've mainly stayed the same. Like
mm-hmm.
I started working with Zemke this year, and one thing he tried to get me to do is scoot up on the bike a little bit. I'm very aggressive and over the front of the bike in mid corner, but my butt is a little bit off of the tank. And by bringing my body weight forward a little bit, as far as my butt on the seat, it's shown me that you can actually get a lot more grip on the rear, which to me
seems odd.
Yeah, it was weird.
Counterintuitive. Yeah.
Yeah. I've never been, I've never been smart in that category, like understanding things about the bike. And no matter what, I asked Chris Lessing in the past, or Dave Barron or Richard, or any crew chiefs I've had, it never sticks with me. But this one stuck with me because I could feel the difference. I'd come out of same tire, had the same, it was pretty worn out tire, and I could feel the grip difference immediately from corner to corner by just scooting my butt forward like 1.5 inches, 2 inches.
Do you use a pad to do that?
No, I just tried to
it?
teach myself to really, be aware of, my stomach or crotch touching the tank. And it was a big difference. It makes it harder to do some other things, but I'm so used to moving around so quickly on the bike
mm-hmm.
anyways that I can do one thing in the middle of the corner and prepare for the exit or whatever it may be. So.
I want to follow up on like your changes in style. It seems to me, I guess you're not really saying this, but maybe you've become a lot more analytical as a rider. I think working with Richard, it seems like you understand what the bike is doing to the suspension, or at least you talk about it with people to try to understand it. It's kind of gone, it seems like to me, from feel to more really feel and understanding, the geometry or what's going on there.
I try to, but for some reason, I don't know if I'm dumb or maybe I'm really smart. My brain's just telling me, hey, don't worry about that kind of stuff. But I find myself trying to understand it. But then whenever it comes race time, I kind of just I don't know if it's the adrenaline or what it is, but it just throws it all out the window, and I just do what feels natural to me. But I also feel like I've been trying to learn more because of fans or people on YouTube, like trying to understand things. I want to really understand what I'm doing on the bike and what changes, so I can tell people or people that I'm coaching, like kind of show them what's going on. Because I think that might be one of the biggest things. When I started coaching riders, I started having to think like, okay, why am I doing this, or what am I doing that makes me do this, so I can explain it to them. And in turn, it's kind of made me be a little bit more aware of what's going on at the racetrack whenever I'm here racing.
Yeah.
And it has helped a little bit, but sometimes, you just got to kind of block that stuff out and not overthink. I've been teammates with a lot of riders that they just are way too into the setup of the bike, and they come in and say, give me 2 clicks here, instead of just letting Richard do his thing and just focusing on how could I be a better rider this weekend.
Yeah, that's not uncommon among riders. I mean, you think about guys like, I think of Doug Poland. Doug Poland, when he raced, with very analytical, understood tires, he became a tire tester. Some guys do that. I mean, I know now Jeff Mays does some testing for Dunlop. Taylor Knapp is doing that now. But then some riders just ride the bike and they almost can't explain it. I can't tell you what it is. It's just something that I can do, but I couldn't really teach you to maybe necessarily do that. But you work with a lot of younger riders. So what do you work with them on?
For me, so that's where I've been trying to get better. I want to be that technical guy that understands things. But for me, that's why I like working with kids like Jesse James, because I don't have to focus so much on telling him why to do something. I just tell him to do it.
Yep.
Right. He doesn't need to know why the reason is to do that. He just
Especially
needs
when
to
you
know.
don't know why.
Yeah. Right. If there's ever a time where I'm like wondering, I'll just call somebody and ask them, hey, why do we do this? Right. but for the most part, it's like when my dad's teaching somebody how to do woodworking. It's like, you don't need to know why I do it. Just do it. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah. Do what I do.
So you could try your own variations of what that is, but you're doing it this way. And 90% of the fast guys are doing it this way. So try that. But I have been trying to understand more so that I can teach people certain things. But for the most part, yeah, I think most racers don't know why they do things. We're just, most of us, with the exception of Hayes and Hacken, maybe a couple other guys, started when we were 5-6 years old or younger. And it's just what we do. It's like asking somebody why you walk that way. It's like, I don't know, like this is just, I could do this with my eyes closed. And most people look at it like you're crazy for doing that sport. But to us, it's just second nature. It's just what we do. Like from the time I was born, I was sitting on a tank with my dad, so that's just natural for us. And we don't really understand why. It's like speaking English to us. Like, I don't know why is my language is just, it is. Right. So, that's one really cool thing I've always thought about racers is like you said, they don't know why they do the things they do, or they don't know that that's sketchy and they shouldn't be doing that. Like track day guys look at it and they're like, dude, you're insane. But to us, it's like, there's a lot of room for error there. Like we make tons of mistakes every lap. And we don't know why or how we do certain things. Most of us.
Back to this weekend with the series opener. How important is it for you to get off to a really good start?
It's important. I mean, I need to be on the podium at least. I want to come out swinging and win some races, but like you said, it's going to be a stacked year. There's a lot of really fast guys, so even if 3 of them are making mistakes, there's still 3 of the other guys that could be winning the race and will be fighting for wins the whole year. So you can't count on the guys making mistakes because there's too many fast guys for that to happen. In years past, only been, Cam was a huge step above everybody last year, but normally there's 2, maybe 3 guys that can win the championship. But like I said, now there's 6, so you got to be ready to go right from the start. So I'm expecting to go out and fight for the win, and I'm hoping that I can get the win, and I'll be pretty disappointed if I'm not at least first or second this weekend. So I think it's important the whole year. You can't be thinking, oh, the championship's long and we have time. I'm not thinking about it. You're going to be thinking about it the whole time. You need to be getting as many race wins as you can.
Did you get the chance to ride with Baz at all at the test?
I was like so off the pace the whole test, and I saw him like go out with me on pit lane, and it was kind of, I think if I was him, thinking he was straight out of the gate was really quick there, and he was wanting to size people up and like, kind of big ball them and show like, all right, I'll go out with you and I'll pull away from you. And I was luckily, for whatever reason, I was able to claw onto him even though I was uncomfortable. So I only really rode with him that one time. But I know he was quicker than me at the test. You know, I'm not saying that I was, you know, competitive with him, but I got to ride with him a little bit. The biggest thing that I wanted to do was just size up the power of the bike so I could tell Richard, because I knew we had 3 weeks to kind of, you know, make any improvements that we needed. So it was really good to be able to just get out with him and get a good drive against him going onto the back straight at COTA. So we have an idea of the torque and mid-range and top end of the bike. And, you know, I came in and told Richard, I said, bottom end and mid-range was good. Top end could improve a tiny bit, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't like he was yarding us like
and that's a track that's like made for that sort
first
of
gear, just huge torque, and like it should be a really good Ducati track. And we were there. But, you know, Zanetti last year, I think, was like I talked to Skoltz about it. He was way lighter than Baz is.
Right.
He was a little bit shorter and super skinny.
Yeah.
So I think that was a big thing last year. But that was the main thing, like I said, I was worried about there. Figuring out, and I saw how tall the guy was. It was nuts. Like he made that bike look like it was a R3 or something. It's so big on it. It's like
volley.
You know, I want to point out something for people that are watching. So what you just said was pretty analytical, Josh. You went to COTA and it was a test, and you were talking about the bottom end, the torque on the bike. So there you go. I mean, don't sell yourself short. You understand from dealing with Richard what you're trying to get out of the bike and what you need to accomplish.
I was just having fun drag racing my buddy is all.
Do you feel like this track, because you live in California now, but you spent a lot of time in Dublin, Georgia, it's still kind of a hometown for you, went to school there. Do you feel like this is a home track for you? Is this a special place?
I only went to school there for like a couple months because the school system sucked here.
He flunked out.
No, they just sucked, man. I remember I didn't call the teacher, yes, sir, and they sent me to the principal's office for it. And my dad came in. The guy's like, have you ever heard of the phrase when in Rome? And my dad's like, so you want my kid spitting dip on the carpet like all these other kids? I made a lot of good friends here, but we left school after like 6 months because it sucked, man.
And homeschooled, right? From there.
But
yeah,
it is still like I consider it like a home track. I hate when people do that because like a lot of racers bounce around, and it's like we have like 5 home tracks.
Yeah,
it seems
exactly.
Like. So I've always like felt like super cringy when people ask me that because I feel like Laguna is like a home track.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Road Atlanta is a home track. I feel like Barber is a home track. So it's like it's really just whatever track a racer has success at and likes,
right.
That's his home track. Like it could be Ohio and we could say, yeah, that's like my home track because I do good there. But Road Atlanta is cool because like the Herrin compound's 2 hours from here. So
right.
yeah, I grew up doing a lot of laps here. We have a lot of friends that every year they set up and turn 10A, 10B. And I love doing good here because I just love going off into the gravel and 10A, 10B after the race and just like seeing everybody pumped up. Me and Paul were talking about earlier, like what we're focusing on before the race and stuff. Like during the race, like I literally go through 10A, 10B and like want to do cool moves there because I can hear like my family and friends and people from the compound out there. And like, you can feel the energy in that like gravity cavity area, right? It's like, this is sick. Like I can hear it. I feel like I'm at a basketball game or something because the bikes are so quiet through that section that if you make a pass, you just hear them screaming.
Yeah.
Even somebody crashes behind you, you hear the whole crowd like, oh. So it's a cool feeling, knowing that it's like your crowd right there.
Yeah.
And no matter what happens, you could crash and go in the crowd and everybody's still pumped that you're out there and they just want to hang out. So yeah, it's neat being here. Yeah, I have a lot of fun.
Yeah. This is the thing I always find to be fascinating about you. I know we're running out of time, but I want to mention this. You seem to be very aware of your surroundings. Some of these guys are out on the track and they know the turns and they don't pay any attention to anything. But I mean, you've talked to us in the past where you've been able to look at the screen and see who's behind you or, you know, where your position is, or you're saying about the fans in the corner. It's interesting to me that you can race a track and kind of still be aware of where you are. So
I think a lot of racers do that. I think for whatever reason, there's a lot of things that racers do and they don't like say it because they don't want people thinking they're distracted or like, right. They're so worried about what somebody's going to think. But like the TV is like a cheater for me because like I've always been taught, my mom was like big on never looking back, like huge on it. So I try not to look back. I still do because it's a bad habit, but like using the monitors around the track is huge for me because it allows me to see like from lap to lap, like maybe there's a guy in 6 that's making a charge and I can see like how close he's getting. Or if there's 2 guys behind me, you know, maybe they're in a battle and I know like, okay, I see these guys every lap passing each other. Maybe this is my chance to like try and put my head down and get away from the guys behind me. Or it's easier for me to like get a realistic idea of the gap from me to the next guy by looking at TV, where whoever's given the pit board might be saying, oh, you're +4, but really it's like almost a second. So it's good to look at that stuff. But then there's also stuff you don't want to see. You know, you always like, I always just like, for some reason, see the weirdest shit on the side of the track. Like there might be a guy in a red t-shirt and I can't stop looking at him like, every time I go by. And it makes me so pissed. I remember Road America one year, there's this guy with like a red Wisconsin flag, like the college flag. And he's just like got it on his motorhome. And I'm like so pissed at this guy because I think there's a red flag. And then for whatever reason, this guy's flipping me off after the race. And like Rachel and I talked about it like a month ago. Like she's like, maybe that guy was like flipping you off because you always have the middle finger, like stickers and stuff. I'm like, shit, maybe you're right. Because I like stood up. I won the race. And I remember standing up and like double birding him so mad. Like a month ago, she's like, maybe he was just doing it to be funny. I'm like, oh, maybe he was.
That's good. Well, I think we're going to wrap up here, but you know, when this runs on Saturday, of course, we're going to be well into the race weekend. We're talking to Josh on Thursday leading into the weekend. So, you know, obviously we'll see how things go in this first weekend and, you know, every level playing field for everybody. But I want to talk about VIR, which is our next race coming up in a couple of weeks. You know, obviously, when you guys see this, we want to let you know to get on MotoAmerica's website and get tickets for that round. And certainly Live Plus, I think, you know, Josh is very electronically clued in on things, so he's very familiar with the Live Plus streaming. I think, you know, it's a good app for the fans, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's super good for the fans. I think a lot of the racers don't use it enough. It's good for us to go back and look at practice.
Absolutely.
Like, that's why I like it. I know that if people are busy at home and, you know, can't watch the race or practice, like it's nice to be able to just go there. There's no, I don't think there's any, it's like no spoilers, right? There's no results on the Live Plus. So it's kind of cool to like not have to worry about trying to find it and see the results of a race you didn't want to hear the results of. So I love using it. My whole family uses it. All my friends use it. It's the easiest way to do it. So a lot of people ask me all the time, like, man, they need to get better at telling us or finding ways to watch the race. I'm like, this is like the best way ever to watch the race.
Use that and don't worry about other things. Although certainly our broadcast TV is really good with FS2 this year, and we got MAV TV for Super Sport and
look at this guy
King of the Baggers.
Well,
I mean, you gave us a ringing endorsement of the Live Plus subscription streaming service. I can't say it any better than what Josh just did. So definitely subscribe, you guys. And, you know, thanks for joining us on this podcast. Thanks a little bit for being with
Your
us.
Your OnlyFans is a good spot too, right?
Yeah, that's right. All right.